Hi everyone, thanks for joining us once again on the I'll Try That podcast. It's me, Matthew Barber, joined this week by the regulars, Joe Druitt. Say hello, Joe.
Hello everyone.
And say hi, Rich.
Hello.
Richard Jabral on the mic. Thanks for joining us again. We're doing something, I think, a little bit different. We're entering the world of Aprés ski today with Jubel. Piste-inspired brews cut with various fruits. So something for a little alternate refreshment. But before we do that, we're going to pass over to Joe, who's going to do our hot topic for the day. Joe, what is the latest?
Right, well, this week we're travelling down under. So, obviously very fond of our Australian counterparts.
Too right, mate.
Of course, they're looking after one of our own of Simo right now. So very, very happy for them to be showing him the ways of the Australia land. And I'm obviously a massive fan of Australia. And this story that I've just come out about their Prime Minister has made me fall a new level of love for Australia. So the Prime Minister of Australia is a man called Anthony Albanese. Does anyone come across Anthony Albanese before?
So I think he's not that long been in the job, has he?
Anthony, no, he's relatively new.
Yeah, he's not long. I remember there was a bit of a rumour about the last guy. And actually, to be honest, I'm not sure I even want to go into it, but wasn't there something to do with after a rugby match, he was caught short somewhere? To be honest, we ought to leave it there, really. He's not the matter of today's topic anyway.
That's old news. We're talking new news. We're talking about Anthony's situation. But basically, I think you've hit on something here. The Australian Prime Ministers are something of a character. I mean, there was that one that went off swimming and never came back. Do you remember that? That story that ever happened?
About that one.
There's also an Australian Prime Minister who I don't know. Who had multiple jobs or something. I mean, that's a bit of a scandalous thing. But anyway, there's a lot of things that it's like when you think about Australia and their prime ministers, there's always something that might be going on.
Almost like it's a prerequisite that they have to have done something a bit weird.
Yeah. So Anthony, as you said, Matt, he's not been in the job very long, and yet he's already making headlines for not his policy, but some things that he's been doing in his leisure activities, let's say. Now, we're not talking Italian Berlusconi level of leisure activities here.
I'm kind of relieved.
Yeah. But what he's done is he was at a rock concert from a very big band called Gang of Youths. They're getting very big and popular in Australia. So he was at this rock concert. He was sat on the mezzanine level. So, we're not talking mosh pit here. He's up in the fancy boxes area.
Yeah, prawn sandwich brigade sort of vibe.
That's it. And he's pictured here in this video wearing a Joy Division t-shirt. So, he knows some stuff about his music, having a Joy Division t-shirt. Big props to that. And anyway, what's captured in this video is the whole of the audience on the lower level. So everyone else who's watching this band turned around and looking up at the mezzanine where Anthony is sat and kind of goading him on. Anyway, he just basically sculls, or as they refer to here in this article, sculls his beer in front of them and then stands up for rapturous applause.
Nice. Sculling a beer. That is quite close to hearts out there, isn't it?
I was going to say, isn't currently the New Zealand Prime Minister going through a similar sort of thing where loads of videos of her partying and with all of her friends drinking Prosecco have just been released? Hasn't that just happened?
Yeah, well, I wasn't sure if that was her, because it's Jacinda Ardern is the Kiwi
New Zealand Prime Minister, yeah.
I'm
pretty sure there's been loads of videos of her just having a good time.
Sanna Marin in Finland?
Was it Finnish?
No, you're mixing up the fantastically strong female prime ministers. You're thinking New Zealand, and actually it's Finland. So, Barbara, carry on your thought process.
Yeah, I think it's Sanna Marin from Finland, who's she's a prime minister, but she's quite remarkable. I think wherever you are, quite remarkable wherever you are that she's prime minister, and she's in her 30s.
She's 36 to be precise.
36.
Yeah, she's definitely achieved a lot more than us lot.
Yeah,
She's only 36.
We joked about this earlier.
Yeah.
I recently bought some new trainers, so I mean that's pretty impressive. Rather than have been Prime Minister of anywhere, but yeah, I think she was just getting down, having a good time. I think, wasn't she? And then lots of people kicked off about it because how dare she?
Yeah.
And I think she was just hanging out with her mates, and there's a bit of a viral video sensation of, I think, Finnish ladies in particular just dancing in support of Sanna or something. It was all for Sanna.
Yeah.
And they were all, posting videos of themselves dancing because probably not the end of the world, is it?
Yeah, I think they were dancing and showing they were partying and tagging her in it. Yeah, and it was just, but I was kind of quite joking about this because the Finnish member of parliament that's been really championing this whole she should take a drug test. She was definitely taking drugs. Is from the the kind of the right wing side of the Finnish government,
right.
And it was like, well, no matter what country you're in, they're all the same kind of like cut of the same jib kind of situation. But I did notice, having done a little bit more research on this, Sanna has recently, as of 5 hours ago of recording, has come up with a new apology. So it's not to do with. It's not to do with the partying. So she's dealt with that issue. I think she's dealt with it well. Again, as we all know, everyone likes to party. But she's recently put out an official apology for some of her guests going topless at the official residence.
Oh,
okay. That's a
what's a more appropriate noise than the one I just made?
And I don't want to sensationalise it anymore, but the Daily Mail have gone with this headline.
Oh, God.
Finnish PM forced to apologise after female pals were seen topless and kissing in official residence.
Let's not go on. Daily Mail, I don't know. I almost want us to expunge any evidence their names was ever mentioned on here, but they're one of a kind, aren't they? But kissing at a party.
In the official residence.
Yeah. Just wait till they hear what our Prime Minister's when parties were literally banned by him. There's a thing to get out your tree about. Bloomin' heck. Oh, anyway.
I mean, it does bode well for Finnish politics that this is a big issue. Because for us, it's like such a non-starter and like, hey, she's doing great. Like, fine, she just want to have a party with her friends, like, and with Finnish celebrities, and she's 36, like, sure, whatever. But it's like, it's a good sign for the country that this is for some reason made international news.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, actually, I would have said to her, I think she did agree to the drug test, I think, didn't she, to just put everyone's minds at rest. But I'm a little bit like, I almost think she shouldn't have indulged them to that extent. But I mean, hey, look at us. Our podcast has moved into the realms of highbrow political commentary. Check us out. Love that.
They might as well call us the next Private Eye.
Well, at least she's not taking nuclear secrets home, so swings and roundabouts, really.
We'll continue on the political vibe then. Did I hear he's apparently Trump's...
Just to clarify who you're talking to about this situation, yeah.
This is the Donald Trump thing where his Mar-a-Lago house got raided by the FBI. Yeah, I think I read earlier also there's talk that he can't find anyone to defend him, so he's going to defend himself. I don't know if that's been substantiated yet, but that's incredible.
Well, let's face it. He's got Rudy Giuliani, who hasn't had a successful case in however many years, is pretty much the only person that's willing to stand up against him, and that's just because he's going under the same kind of charges that Trump is. That's probably a good sign that you're on the losing side, that no one is willing to pick up your case.
Tell you what, Giuliani, I wouldn't trust him to book the 4 seasons if I needed him to. So.
It was the dye leaking down his face was my favourite part.
It made him look like. It made him look like that villain in that film. You ever watched The Fifth Element?
Yeah, I love The Fifth Element.
Gary Oldman has got, when he's under real pressure, that little bead comes down his forehead. It's like, you actually look like a sci-fi villain. Good. Well, political commentary aside, shall we move on to our pursuit of hoppiness? And
let's please, because I am loving Aprés. I told you boys on my way in, On the way in before we got this recording, I was so looking forward to a Peche.
Doesn't it just take you back?
I was going to say, we're all going to sound incredibly middle class now when we start talking about a Peche, but dear God, it tastes good when you come off the mouth.
I always liked it, so yeah, we are. I mean, this is Middle England, like a coming of age story. Any of the listeners who have watched Chalet Girl, that is pretty much what we were doing, except I don't know, in a slightly less dreamy fashion. And obviously, my skiing skills completely showed up. Rich and Joe. Oh wow, they actually not burst out laughing as soon as I thought they would on that. But yeah, anyone's not familiar, so it's I think this is the whole kind of the point of Jubel, is they are pitching themselves as the Aprés ski beer. It's common in these ski resorts, again, for anyone unfamiliar, that I think possibly just out of everyone being bored of, this is how I read it, this is just my opinion, so, other opinions are available, but it was almost like a lot of people just had so much just lager, because not many different types of beer as I remember being available in the Alps, that they added in little peche liqueur. Peche, of course, being the French for, yeah, you guessed it, peach. And it just gives a little extra dynamic to a lager normally, because it's normally that Peche is added to a beer, but this one we're drinking today is a beer sort of already cut with Peche. Am I on the right track here, guys?
Yeah, you're absolutely spot on. I mean, it is. Yeah, sorry,
no, I was
going
to say, because it was an Aprés-based beer. I still have one of my favourite Aprés stories. Was the three of us was when we'd all been probably in the Alps of all of about 2 weeks, and we're skiing back, and Barber, being the excellent skier he is, falls over and conveniently pops his shoulder out of his socket.
Oh, I'd say it was inconveniently.
And it was really inconvenient. And
yeah, I'd say pretty ruddy painful, if I'm quite honest.
Pretty ruddy painful.
I was definitely doing something really gnarly too.
So we were just cruising down a green slope.
bit of skiing bants right there.
Bit of skiing, but the best part of the whole situation was when Barber had clearly dislocated his shoulder, was in a fair bit of pain, and then Mr. Druitt taps him on his shoulder that's currently dislocated and goes, "It's going to be all right." And Barber's face was an absolute picture.
in my defence on this, I was having an absolute brain fart. I was so wrapped up in worry for my mate who'd just done a serious injury to himself.
It was quite sweet,
you've got the P-stairs there as well, so they're the medical paramedics basically who are helping him, going to help him get down the mountain. And they're saying, right, we've been with him for probably half an hour, 45 minutes, I think, on the mountain waiting for this to happen.
Yeah, you were really, really sweetly and really diligently feeding me jelly baby sweets.
I've been feeding you sweet, keep your sugar levels up, kind of stave off the shock. I'm first aid responder at this point. So, I've tried running up the mountain with my skis still on rather than taking them off. I've done weird stuff building up to this moment. Out of blind panic that my mate's hurt. And anyway, so
I forgot about that.
So I get up there and I'm feeding him sweets, all this. So this is all happening. And then the pizza's right, he's in our hands, you can go now. And I'm like, okay, a kind of sense of relief that he's with the professionals, whatever. And so I go, "It's all right, mate." And I do tap you on your dislocated shoulder arm. And I remember the look of you of absolute what the F are you doing? And the fact that the P-stir behind you does exactly the same thing. I go, oh my God, I've messed up bad here.
He turns it to me and he says, "This is your friend, right?" Yeah, he used to be.
As you say, Drabs, that was a pinnacle moment of our friendship.
But you know who the real victims of that story were? It was actually me and you, Joe.
It's true. I ruined everything, didn't I?
Yeah.
You ruined everything because that was the reason this is an Aprés story. This was the first Aprés we were going to attend. Instead, we ended up in a hospital watching Barber get his shoulder popped back into his shoulder, so we could not go and enjoy Peche beer. We had to miss out.
Yeah, really,
that's why it's my favourite Aprés story.
Really, it's a non-Aprés story, isn't it? Let's be honest.
Right.
So I wouldn't recommend it for this reason. But if anyone was thinking about it, getting your shoulder popped back in is an absolute treat. It's almost worth having your shoulder popped out for. That's not what we're here to talk about, though.
Well, bringing it back to Jubel. Rich, what was the name of the bar that we had frequented very quickly before we had to make a quick escape to get back onto the side of the mountain?
Oh, it was the Folly Deuce.
So the Folly Deuce,
which is a famous Aprés bar in the Alps.
Absolutely. So bringing it back to our story at Jubel. So the founder or co-founder, Jesse Wilson, was in the Folly Deuce and was enjoying a Demi Peche, which, as Bob was kind of explaining earlier on, is a beer with peach. Either it can be a fresh peach, a puree, or a concentrate, or even an extract of peach, but it's got some sort of, added thing to the beer itself. So he was enjoying this Demi Peche.
being a half.
Yeah, exactly. At the Folly Deuce, and just thought, I need to bring this back to the UK, because he was trying to find it when he got here. I was digging a bit more into Jesse's background, and he was on the grad scheme at the time of Mars Chocolate. We know Mars, the big company. So he was on the grad scheme at Mars, and then basically was like, and in his like kind of spare time, he was working on this kind of like beer idea. He was, trialing how to make this Peche, this Demi Peche work in a kind of a craft beer setting. Putting a lot, like learning how to brew at the same time. It says in this article, like inundating his friends and family with, many different iterations of his beer. And that became basically became Jubel, which launched in April 2018.
So I was going to say, I tried Jubel properly for the first time, I think, was when we were in the beer festival. Or it would have been, was it last weekend? Yeah, last weekend we were at the beer festival. Was it last
2 weekends ago. It was a few weekends ago.
But, so a few weekends ago. It was the first time I'd tried Jubel, and I'm always a bit cautious when someone's trying to replicate something that I've tried before, and I've tried kind of like the authentic version, shall I say. I've tried it with the beer with the Peche into it, and I was genuinely pleasantly surprised because they had the Elderflower and the Grapefruit as well there.
Well, what are you guys? Have you guys got them? Have you guys got them now? What have you got? Because I've got the peach and the grapefruit.
Yeah,
I haven't got the Elderflower.
I'm on the same, but I had the Elderflower at this beer festival that Rich is talking about, and
Same.
So I've tried the 3 beers that they have.
Yeah, Rich, what have you got?
I've got the Grapefruit, and it is fantastic.
Do you know what, if I was, we're not one for ranking, but actually a Grapefruit's my favourite of these, closely followed by the peach, and then the Elderflower is personally not my cup of tea. We tried it at the craft beer festival the other week. I also saw them. They had I was going to say it was a big presence, but I think it's actually just I happened upon them really early. But they were at Truckfest, the music festival in sort of Oxford way. I went to in the summer, which actually it was really welcome at, because it was like high 20s the whole weekend. It was that sort of dry, parched feeling the whole way. There was a little bit of an Aprés ski sort of contingent vibing outside their van as well, which was nice because it made me feel sort of like not too posh at the music festival as well. But for me, the peach, which is I suppose kind of like the you'd have thought would be the sort of flagship one. That's a little bit sweet for me, but it's nice because it also makes essentially what's a lager really accessible for lots of people who I think probably wouldn't go to a beer naturally anyway. It just has a nice sort of sweet, refreshing quality that will go down very well with a huge number of people, I imagine.
Yeah, totally. I think it's very accessible, as you said, to a lot of people for this. It's super refreshing. I mean, like having that Peche to start off with and now moving on to the grapefruit variety, it's delicious. So I was really fascinated to find out more about Jubel, because obviously this is a person, right? Quite a young guy, co-founder, right? We don't know who the other co-founder is. We'll probably find that out. I'm sure, he's whoever that person is kind of like behind the scenes, but Jesse's on the front person. But they put their young guy was on a grad scheme, started brewing on the side, put their life savings and found capital investment, and managed to build up a beer brand, which is, as of 2013, growing in popularity in the UK and not to mention in the Aprés land, where it's really kind of positioned for. So I was trying to find out, well, how's he done this? Has he just been given a load of money from, whomever, uncle, son, whatever, who died, and he's just been left a load of money? So it turns out that he is one of these kind of people who are really on the back, they're kind of running on the tail, what's it called? What's that phrase?
Coattails?
Thank you. He's really running on the coattails of contract brewing. So we've talked about contract brewing before, the likes of Brewgooder. They don't have their own brewery. They basically contract out their liquid to other brewers who make it for them, and then they sell it on and blah, blah, blah. So Jubel is made by the one and only St. Austell Brewery.
Oh,
really?
Okay.
Oh, okay.
So St. Austell make Jubel's beers. And the reason why they ended up choosing St. Austell is because Jubel's beer process, because of this cutting with fruit, is a really complicated process. It's not your average brew that you make. It's complicated. So Jesse's in this article was saying that he talked to over 100 different, contract brewers, and they landed on St. Austell because it seemed to be like a match made in heaven. St. Austell at this time were branching out and creating a brand new brewery that we've covered before in Bath called Hare Brewery. This is their kind of merger with Bath Ales. This is kind of like part of the process. They invested in Bath Ales, created anyway. So Jubel beers are made in Hare Brewery in Bath.
Right. Okay.
Oh, okay.
Plot thickens.
Yeah.
So I suppose they probably can't. But if I was a brewery, I would also really want to boast that I was doing this. In my industry, we'd call that like white label. I think that's in other industries as well, doing white label products. So producing it and let someone else stick their label over the top of it. I imagine it's probably part of the deal that they can't say, yeah, by the way, that's our beer. But I would really want to, if I was the brewery, to be like, yeah, okay. So a lot of people probably go, oh, actually, I don't really like the St. Austell beers. And they go, oh, do you like Jubel? And they go, yeah. It's like, well, what do you know? We do. We actually make that as well.
I'm with you. I mean, but also, you're right. Does that mean that Jubel can be stocked in all of St. Austell's like pubs, bars, outlets, restaurants, hotels? Because they've got a huge, network in the UK. It might be. I mean, I'm just quite interested by that. I mean, obviously, contract or white label brewing, as we kind of know it as, is huge. It's a massive business earner, and it's been happening for years and generations, but it really seems to have really taken a head, especially when you put a spotlight on some of these kind of up-and-coming brewers who don't have their own premises, because obviously capital is a huge barrier to entry for any business. If you don't own the premises, you don't have the money to buy the premises and put the things, and you need someone who's got all of that. And then you can basically say, hey, I've got this great recipe. Can you help me fine tune it on a bigger scale? And can you then put it through my brand, which I'm going to be the one who's driving the brand forward, doing all of the, as we saw firsthand at the London Craft Beer Festival, the people on the ground in the fantastic Jeep bar that we saw. I mean, how good was that? It was like the half of a Jeep just opened up into an amazing looking bar. I mean, I've never seen anything like it. It was amazing.
Yeah, it's I feel like I'm going to have I'm going to have my eyes opened in the very near future about loads of beers that I thought were new independent breweries. And turns out this whole time they were actually made by someone, big and really reputable that I actually knew about and just had no idea that was how it was working.
I know, Rich's. We're going to stress test Rich's craft beer list. Oh. His criteria for craft beers.
Since going to that craft beer festival, it's opened my eyes to how many we still have to try.
Yeah, no kidding. Yeah. Every now and then we do kind of go, oh God, this isn't gonna. How long is this gonna last? And so don't worry. There's breweries about.
So I guess, who wants to summarize Jubel or Jubel? Do we even discuss Jubel or Jubel?
I've been going Jubel. I don't know. That seems like it has the sort of French vibe, which La Folie Douce, which
I'm on to that, but there must be parts of the UK where Jubel is pronounced very differently to the French Alps.
Or is it Jubel? Might be a soft J.
I suppose, to summarise it, is if you can't afford to go skiing but want to drink like you're going skiing, try Jubel.
Okay, I'm with you on that one. I think there's definitely a part of that, people who are part of the skiing crowd, but actually, if you're a fan of a Bellini, try the Peche from Jubel.
Oh, yeah,
it is so good. And if you want a really refreshing, palate cleansing, quite interesting lager, I would be picking up these Jubels, and I would be very interested to try, to give these to people who have never been in that skiing environment, because let's face it, that's quite niche. It's big in a lot of people, but it's very niche in the broader sense of people. But I would be interested to give this beer and just be like, what do you like this or not? Because it's so different, isn't it, than most beers out there.
I'd almost go, if you're not a beer fan, try some Jubel.
Yeah. And also,
If you want to give it a sample.
Exactly. And also, I mean, just like the brass tacks of it, it's like a 4%. It is most of these are called session lagers. Really light. I mean, the more I get through the grapefruit one, I almost like I could be convinced it's a soft drink. The more I have of it, but I think they also really boast about being gluten-free, low sugar. I think that's relatively speaking to other sort of drinks in similar market, vegan friendly, carbon negative. And they've had some other accreditation, but maybe we will go and get one and hang out at Milton Keynes Snowdome or something like that.
So on Instagram, they have 25.6k followers.
I suppose that's the turning up at music festivals and craft beer festivals is probably paying dividends there, isn't it?
And they must have an Instagram, but I can't. A Twitter, but I can't find them on Twitter. They're being hashtagged a lot on Twitter, but I can't see them actually having an account. So I think maybe just push all your. They're just really going hard on Instagram.
Their social media person is going to hit their target of doubling their output next year.
And that's all we have time for this week's episode of the I'll Try That podcast. And so from me, Joe, Rich,
Barbara,
and Simo,
goodbye. Don't forget to follow us on Instagram,
Twitter,
I'll try that podcast.com,
and watch us on YouTube.
Goodbye now.